Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today for the first ever Neuroblastoma Parent Global Symposium, bringing together an amazing number of people from around the world affected by neuroblastoma and interested in neuroblastoma to discuss many, many aspects of this really important and difficult to deal with childhood cancer. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. So just to give a few words of welcome, my name's Dr. Daniel Morgenstern. I'm a pediatric oncologist here at SickKids in Toronto. My focus is on the management of neuroblastoma, and I co-lead our neuroblastoma service here and also run our early phase trial program. As you may be able to tell from my accent, I'm originally from the UK and I trained there, so I know the European setup fairly well as that in North America. This meeting has been put together by these three charities: Solving Kids Cancer, the UK, and Solving Kids Cancer in the US, and the Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation, and really replaces what would otherwise plan to be the in-person meetings that have happened for many, many years. And I don't need to tell the audience here how the world has been affected by COVID, and clearly it's impossible for us to meet together in person, but we're trying to, and I think really have succeeded in making a benefit out of those difficulties by now turning this into a virtual meeting online, so that we can't unfortunately meet in person. But actually by meeting online, I think we're able to bring many, many more people together than we otherwise would have been able to in this unique global parents meeting, the first time that the global parent community has managed to meet together. So just to say who has registered for this meeting, I'm just seeing the count of the participants in this session itself gradually tick up. But overall for the meeting as a whole, there are actually more than 640 registrants, which is a pretty incredible number. As you'll see here, the majority of these are families and friends of patients with neuroblastoma, but also a significant number of medical professionals, charity representatives, and others. And this really is a global meeting with people joining from 42 countries around the world, as highlighted in this map here. So really phenomenal, and thank you so much to everyone for joining, and thank you so much to the charities for successfully organizing this meeting. So I just want to give a little bit of background and hints as to how the meeting is going to work in practice. The fact that you've managed to join this feed means that you're already ahead of the curve and you know a bit about how the platform works, but just to highlight a few more things about this. You all, of course, know about the website NB Parent Symposium and how to access that, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. But just to highlight a few links at the top of the homepage, which provides you with access to the agenda, to the watch live section, which you're doing now, but also importantly that any sessions that you miss will be recorded and will be available via the website to watch back at any time. And you can access those via the on-demand section at the top of the homepage. There's also an opportunity to connect with other attendees, and the attendees tab at the top of the homepage will let you link to other individuals who are participating in the meeting and know who else is around and online. And there's also then a charity directory which gives information about the specific neuroblastoma charities in the many countries around the world. And obviously we're trying to add information to that all the time to make it as comprehensive as possible. And then in the top right of the homepage is an opportunity for you to edit your own account, to put some more details in there about yourself if you want to help make connections with other participants in the meeting over the next couple of days. Importantly, for those families or individuals who are directly affected by neuroblastoma, there's the opportunity to network privately without input from clinicians or other people from the charity, just essentially for private interactions directly between those affected by neuroblastoma. And it's really designed as a way for you to connect and to find others in similar circumstances, because we all recognize, of course, how incredibly difficult dealing with neuroblastoma can be, and how important it is to make connections to other families going through the same difficulties. So details for this have been sent out directly by email to those individuals who've registered with this as to how to do this one-to-one networking via the website. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, for a long while, the major benefit of these in-person parent meetings has really been the opportunity, I think, for you, the audience, to ask questions. And obviously, it's a real shame that because we're not meeting in person, we can't have the system of people putting their hands up and going around the room to ask for questions. But I think for myself and all of the other presenters, we are absolutely committed to really wanting to answer the questions that are relevant to you. And so it's really important that we hear from you throughout the meeting with the questions that you have, the things you want to hear about, and the questions you want answered. One little note of caution on that: we obviously can't provide direct medical advice about the circumstances for an individual patient through this meeting. That wouldn't be appropriate, but otherwise we're willing and able to try and answer any question you might have about neuroblastoma. The best way to do that is during an individual talk or an individual session, that hopefully at the bottom of your Zoom window, you will see a little button saying Q&A, which has got two little speech bubbles next to it. And so if you click on that, then you can ask a question. And I just invite those of you who are online now to just have a quick practice clicking that button, maybe not asking a question, but maybe just saying what you have for breakfast this morning, and just put it in there just so that we can get reassurance that people are able to do it and everyone knows how to use that. I'm not going to go through and answer the questions of what people have for breakfast, but just to give you a chance to use it. Great. Seeing some people there. So our intention is that after each session, there will be an opportunity for questions that have been asked to be answered. And any questions that you have, feel free to put them in at any time. If you have a question that you think doesn't fit into one of the individual sessions, or if you have a question that for some reason we run out of time and we can't answer, or you don't get a good answer for it, then you can always send a question in general through the website. And if you go to the front page of the website and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see a contact form which allows you to put in your name and address and ask us a question. Or you can send an email directly to the contact email address that I'm showing at the bottom here, the contact@NB Parent Symposium. And we have a dedicated team working behind the scenes who will collate those questions. And then on Saturday, we have a final session, which is a Q&A. So any unanswered questions from the meeting, we can put there and try and get answered for you. So those are kind of the three key ways of asking questions. Most importantly, the Q&A button during the individual sessions, or otherwise, please just send us a question via the website or by email at any time. So moving on, I just want to give a quick word to the sponsors and a quick word of thanks to the sponsors for supporting this meeting. There's quite a lot of technology behind the scenes, which fingers crossed is going to carry on working well to allow everyone to join from around the world. And I just want to thank the sponsors, Y-mAbs Therapeutics, United Therapeutics, Sanofi, the Thank Foundation, and GRC World Forums, and also many thanks to EUSA Pharma, all of whom have provided financial support to allow this meeting to go ahead. So moving on, I just want to recognize the three charities behind this meeting. I think on both sides of the Atlantic, both in the US and in the UK, there's been a very strong history of having these family information symposia about neuroblastoma. And we really have Pat Talangan to thank for kicking all of that off many years ago when she initiated the parents meeting in the US, and then subsequently a similar meeting has been initiated in the UK. And as I mentioned, this is now the first time that we're able to combine those meetings on a global basis and reach countries beyond those two. So I just want to introduce these three individuals: Pat Talangan from the Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation, Gail Jackson from Solving Kids Cancer UK, and Scott Kennedy from Solving Kids Cancer US. And I'm just, assuming the technology works, going to play a short video which just allows each of these three individuals to introduce themselves to you and introduce this meeting on behalf of those charities.
Welcome everyone to the first ever Neuroblastoma Parents Global Symposium. I am Pat Talangan, co-founder of the Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation, or CNCF. CNCF started the first ever Neuroblastoma Parent and Caregiver Education Conference in 2002 here in the Chicago area. We are committed to finding a cure for neuroblastoma through research funding, parent education, and advocacy. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, we were forced to cancel our in-person conference, However, we are pleased to be partnering with Solving Kids Cancer US and UK to bring you this unique opportunity to participate with researchers, families, and charitable organizations across the globe. We hope you will find the symposium filled with information that will help you make informed choices for your child's treatment. Even though we cannot physically be together, we anticipate this format will provide the best possible alternative to our annual in-person conference. The neuroblastoma journey, as we all know, has so many twists and turns, it is hard to discern which direction to go. We feel by offering you this information direct from the neuroblastoma researchers at the front line, it will allow you to ask the necessary questions and give you the ability to make informed choices. I would like to thank our sponsors for supporting our endeavors and to thank our speakers for giving of their time to be with us during these 2 days, and to the Clinical Steering Committee for their input in helping us form the agenda, and to all of our children and their families for being a part of this wonderful program. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Gail Jackson from Solving Kids Cancer UK, and it's a great honor to welcome you to this inaugural global event for the neuroblastoma community. The COVID-19 pandemic has created many challenges for families affected by neuroblastoma, one of which is the cancellation of conferences and opportunities to come together in person to focus on neuroblastoma and all of the latest research and developments. Inspired by the Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation in the US and their parent conferences, SKC UK hosted our first conference in 2012, bringing together families, clinicians, and all those who support and care for families affected by neuroblastoma. The challenge of COVID has given us, Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation and Solving Kids Cancer in the US, the opportunity to collaborate more closely, think globally, and extend our ambition to work internationally to reach more people from the global neuroblastoma community than ever before. Over the next 2 days, we welcome international experts, professional caregivers, families, and their supporters to exchange information and ideas, bringing the latest information on trials, treatment, and support together. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. I'm Scott Kennedy, coming to you from New York. I'm the Executive Director of Solving Kids Cancer. It's an honor to have you all here because I know how important this is. We lost our 5-year-old boy, Hazen, to neuroblastoma some years ago. A lot has changed and some things haven't changed. Neuroblastoma still is a clinically challenging cancer, and that's why it's so important to connect families together to meet each other and bring this whole community together with a global researcher community to share insights, have active discussions and crosstalk, and do it informally without the lab coats and without the doctor-patient hierarchy. What has changed is the ability to bring so many more people together in this setting. Neuroblastoma is a global problem, and now, thanks to modern technology and the pandemic, we have a global forum to exchange ideas and have discussions on the most important topics for parents and families. There are over 40 countries represented in this gathering. For the first time, parents from Nepal can be in the same setting with researchers from Canada. There are no barriers anymore. In the same way, this virtual symposium has made it possible to bring together multiple stakeholders like academic research community, together with professionals from the life sciences industry, across countries, across continents, at a scale that's never been possible. For neuroblastoma, working together globally is the key. We're excited for everyone to get the most value from this symposium. It's actually your symposium. The team has worked extremely hard to put together a superb program and lineup of researchers. We're proud to be able to bring this to you. Really looking forward to a great forum, and thank you so much for participating. We wish you all well.
So I think that's really important, that on behalf of these 3 charities, we're really delighted that everyone is able to join us and for the first time get everyone together globally. And there are many, many people behind the scenes who've worked hard to put this together. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of them for all of their hard work, and a big fingers crossed that the technology carries on working throughout the next couple of days. So to wrap up the kind of opening ceremony, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about one of the pioneers of neuroblastoma treatment, and in a way, one of the pioneers of putting the child with neuroblastoma at the center of everything we do. I mean, clearly, for families looking after children with neuroblastoma, of course, the child is at the center of everything you do. But I think in the medical world, often we forget about the child themselves, the family around them, the whole context in which the disease has to be dealt with. And Dr. Audrey Evans was really a pioneer in emphasizing how important that family structure was. Interestingly, Dr. Evans was born in the UK and then moved across to the US and spent most of her career at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. So in some ways represents this kind of global network for neuroblastoma in one individual person. And she has worked for many, many, many years in neuroblastoma, was one of the pioneers in developing the early staging system for neuroblastoma, and working with one of her colleagues, developed the concept of 4S neuroblastoma, which some of you may have heard about. Many of you will also have used Ronald McDonald houses for accommodation when you're staying in hospitals for treatment. And that was something that she pioneered at Philadelphia when she set up the first of those charities. So Dr. Evans has been for many years a great supporter of the neuroblastoma family meetings on both sides of the Atlantic. And these are a couple of photos from when she attended the meeting in the UK a few years ago. And I think all of us just want to dedicate this meeting to Dr. Evans, who continues to play such an important role in neuroblastoma by bringing us all together, by her kind of pioneering work on the disease and really her enthusiasm for looking after the patients with this condition. So I'm just going to play now a video outlining Dr. Evans' contribution to neuroblastoma, which really gives an amazing background to her story. And then at the conclusion of that, we'll wrap this up and we'll move on to the first of our sessions.
She's a world-renowned oncologist whose career has spanned more than 60 years, and her work has impacted the lives of millions across the world.
Now I'm 92. I still have the ability to do something for the benefit of humanity.
And she wants to be remembered for one thing.
Audrey Evans, a woman who cared.
Who is this modern hero?
My name is Audrey Evans, and this is my story.
Audrey's journey began in 1925 in the historic walled city of York, England.
I grew up in a middle-class family. I had my mother and father, a sister who was 6 years older than me, a brother who was 2 years older than me.
From the time she was 5 years old, her path in life was clear.
I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. Fortunately, my parents believed that girls should do as well as boys, so off I set on this rather tortuous business of graduating to be a doctor.
So off she went to the Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh. But learning the material was far from easy.
I never excelled in school because I have a memory problem. Most people learn things from what they read, and I remember things from what I hear. And so I had trouble in medical school. I failed my first year in anatomy. So to regroup, somebody taught me anatomy verbally. We looked at pictures and he talked.
Wow.
I literally scrambled through until I got to the clinical part. I could talk between the medical staff and the families.
A great connector.
I was a good connector, that's true.
Audrey finished her degree in 1953 and headed to Boston Children's Hospital, where she spent 2 years of her residency on a coveted Fulbright fellowship. She trained under pathologist and leukemia pioneer Dr. Sidney Farber, also known as the father of modern chemotherapy. In 1955, she spent 1 year at Johns Hopkins before heading back to England to the Royal Infirmary Teaching Hospital, where for a period of time, she was the only female resident among the guys.
You were outnumbered by the guys. So what was that like? Did it affect you?
Well, I guess I thought perhaps I would have got on better if I'd been a man, but it didn't worry me. I managed to do what I wanted to do. I just sort of laughed at it.
That must have been hard though, being the only woman.
No, I guess I wouldn't call it hard, more amusing.
You really love what you do.
I loved what I did and I was having fun. I just knew where I was going. I was on a plan. I was lucky to be there. I was well aware of that.
After completing her residency, Audrey packed her bags and headed back to Boston Children's Hospital, where she found her true calling, treating kids with cancer. In 1964, she carried that passion to the Hematology Oncology Unit at the University of Chicago. And 5 years later, she was recruited by C. Everett Koop, the former Surgeon General of the United States, as the first chief of pediatric oncology at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where she later founded the Children's Cancer Center and ultimately spent the remainder of her medical career.
And what was that like coming to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia?
It was a perfect job for me. I was taking care of sick kids, and I was listening to this sermon at church, and God calling a woman who cared. And I thought, wow, that's who called me. So I'm going to have tears now. So I knew at that sermon, God, that's why I came to Philadelphia, to take care of children with cancer, because at the time I came, there wasn't much else you could do but care.
And cared she did. In fact, she took a total care approach by tending not just to her patients' medical needs, but also their social, emotional, and spiritual needs, while also providing support for their families. Sometimes that even meant sneaking in a pet or two to brighten kids' days while in treatment. But despite her efforts, some outcomes were unavoidable.
I knew a lot of them were going to die, and I could talk about dying. I could talk to kids about dying. Heaven is whatever you want it to be.
Do you fear death?
No, of course not. Heaven is where you meet your friends. It's just a lovely place.
In 1971, Dr. Evans developed the revolutionary Evans staging system, which analyzes cancer progression to determine the best treatment plans for kids battling neuroblastoma, one of the most common solid tumors in childhood cancer. For her work, she's been credited for decreasing mortality rates by a whopping 50% for neuroblastoma patients, earning herself the moniker, the mother of neuroblastoma.
You're curing cancer and saving kids' lives.
I'm stamping out cancer.
I mean, that's groundbreaking.
It's groundbreaking.
And her transformative work spans beyond the hospital walls. Throughout her career, Dr. Evans noticed that families had nowhere to stay while their kids were being treated, and she was determined to change that by creating a home away from home, free of charge.
This is where the Ronald McDonald House program started.
In 1974, Audrey and Jimmy Murray, the former general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, co-founded the Ronald McDonald House Charities to provide lodging, resources, and care to children and families in need. Since opening, the Ronald McDonald House Charities span more than 63 countries, have 360 locations, and have helped over 7 million families. They've even opened camps, hospitality rooms, and hospital wings, and are launching Ronald McDonald Care Mobiles, which are mobile medical units serving communities that don't yet have Ronald McDonald House programs.
If I go to a McDonald House, somebody takes care not only of a child who's staying there, but she takes care of the whole family. And, you know, that's just a beautiful idea.
Amidst her illustrious career, Audrey also managed to fit in time for her other passions in life, like horseback riding, scuba diving, and even sheep farming. And at 80 years old, she celebrated another momentous occasion, marrying her longtime friend and esteemed colleague of 40 years, Dr. Dan Danjo.
You just got married when you were 80. I read that you guys got married at 7:30 in the morning.
No,
What? No?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. I'm so sorry. My sources were wrong.
Then we went across the street where we had croissant and coffee and juice. And then we were at work at 8:30.
After an unrivaled medical career that spanned 6 decades, Dr. Evans retired in 2009 at the age of 84. But stepping down wasn't easy.
I missed the kids. I really had a depression, and I thought I must get something to fill my life. So God took care of that.
2 years later, in 2011, she co-founded the St. James School, a school that aims to break the cycle of poverty by providing under-resourced youth with an extended school year.
Once again, you're taking your total care approach, just like you did in the hospitals, just like you do at the Ronald McDonald House, and you've applied it to St. James.
True.
So you have no sign of slowing down.
I still have the ability to do something for the benefit of humanity.
Throughout her lifetime, Dr. Evans has received just about every award possible in the field of pediatric oncology. But the impact she has made in the lives of millions is impossible to quantify.
Looking at your life and all the things that you've accomplished, what do you think when you think about the things you've done?
I was given a mission, and I was given the ability to serve it.
And what was that mission?
Make a difference in the lives of children.
So that's a really, really incredibly inspiring story for those of us that work in the field, and I hope for families as well. So that concludes the introductions, and I'm going to now just direct you on where to go next. The first of many sessions that are coming up is Neuroblastoma Basics, an introduction to neuroblastoma, which will be led by Dr. Ami Desai. So you'll need to log out of this Zoom connection and go back to the website. And if you find the Watch Live link, then you'll be able to join the next session. Thank you so much to everyone for joining this introduction. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow morning or afternoon, and for the Q&A at the end. In the meantime, enjoy the symposium, and I really hope that it's helpful for everyone. Thank you so much.